to the best late night radio show. It is called the Purple Playroom, and what a beautiful conversation we have coming up for you today. Let me start off by just thanking Poriso on Purple Nights and letting you know that between now and midnight, hosting the show is myself. Hashtag Curious Cat. Cathy Malejane is my name. I normally am not here by myself. I normally have my beautiful co-host Ross, who unfortunately is not around, but she will be here next week. Today we are having a conversation touching base and talking about abortion. And to have this conversation with me, I want to just welcome my guests. I have two guests. Motlatsi Mogorosi is a Pan-African feminist. She uses poetry to embrace the essence of being a blessed African woman. And as an activist, she uses her voice to call for spaces that are inclusive and safe. She's also a fashionista. I think you can just check her out and see that for yourself. She fuses arts and fashion to embody her activism. I also have alongside Motlatsi a doctor, a pastor. Dr. Donald Motsumi is a Botswana-based church leader. He's an author. He's a social justice advocate. He's got very interesting views, so I think you might just be pleasantly surprised by what he's going to be saying, or let me just say surprised. He's the founder and presiding prelate of Revelation Times Ministries International. That is a ministry that he has led since 1997 with a growing presence in Botswana and across East Africa. I want to take this time to welcome the both of you to the Purple Playroom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cathy.
I'm excited to have the both of you. I think before we get started, I just want to throw some statistics into this conversation to say across the world, there's a study that was done in 2020 to show that about 40 to 50 million abortions are conducted across the world, and about 44%, so almost half of those are done illegally. Now, in Botswana, we've got complications that happen from abortion, and these actually cause or are a leading cause of maternal mortality, and that accounts for about 23% of all maternal deaths. This is according to a study that was done in 2019. It's a bit outdated, so I want to imagine that at this time we possibly are looking at higher figures. Unfortunately, a lot of the time with data in Botswana, we don't necessarily have this at our fingertips. But that's the background that I'd like us, in the context that I'd like us to start this conversation off with. And perhaps just starting it off to say, in terms of having a conversation about Botswana, about abortion in Botswana, how do you think that we should be going about doing that? And please feel free to chip in, any and both of you.
Do you mean how should we be talking about abortion?
Yes.
Okay. I think we should be talking about it in a way that it doesn't make anyone feel guilty about considering it, if at all they do. And also in a way that it doesn't make anyone feel like they are somehow immoral if they consider doing it, if anything does happen sexually wise that leads to one considering an abortion. Yeah.
Do you want to chip in?
Yeah, I concur with what my lady is saying. That I think our perception about the subject matter should be from the point of education, that there's need for people to be educated to understand what is abortion and stop stigmatizing the idea of abortion and have a clear understanding of why abortion. So there must be a serious and deep talk about this and not take it from the face value as if it's a taboo or of some sort.
Is it taboo right now? Is it something that people think is moral? Is there stigma around it?
I think without proper context, it is considered a taboo. I mean, I grew up knowing if you have committed abortion, it's like you're all immoral and all that, without having to understand what really happened and what caused that. So I think we always talk abortion outside of any context that is or that has led to the event itself. Yeah, so
Do you think there's stigma? Do you think people feel guilt and shame when they, talk about it or even, like you said, consider it?
Yes, in addition to what he said, the reason why there's a scourge of backstreet abortions in Botswana is because a lot of people who do find themselves in circumstances where they could abort don't even want to consult people, so they'd rather go through the backstreet abortion route. And those who have money do afford to go to South Africa, so they'd rather do that than to even have a conversation about abortion. And it gets really scary when even teenagers do not have the platform to talk about what happened to them. So they'd rather go to someone who says that they can actually help them to delete fetuses, and they do that.
Delete fetuses.
Yes, fetus deleters.
Yeah.
Yes, and they do that, which is why we have a scourge of backstreet abortions in Botswana, and a lot of our women and our young girls do get to die because of these backstreet abortions.
I think we will talk a little bit about the public perception in Botswana, because there are instances and circumstances where abortion is legal in Botswana. So we'll talk about that a little later on. But still, just on looking at accountability versus autonomy, I want to know, Motlatsi, starting with you, to say, should a woman's right to choose be questioned if she goes ahead and knowingly engages in activities that could lead to pregnancy? Because a lot of the time, that's the question that's put on the table, to say, but
Yeah.
so how we then you should know there could be consequences. And I actually want to bring you in, Dr. Donald, to say a lot of the time this is very much a high road that people who have that moral perspective, quote unquote, use to say you just shouldn't be doing some of these things. It's immoral, but the Bible says 1, 2, 3. So Motlatsi, let's start with you, and then I know you might just throw a curveball at me. So
Okay, for starters, I'd like to just chip in and say, is it even a moral high road?
Yeah.
Because it is filled with stacks and stacks of double standards that women go through but men don't go through. Do we even ask men the same questions that we ask women? As of now, would you ask a man, when you had sex with that woman, did you expect that you were going to impregnate her? And at a point where you did, can you now assume fatherhood? Because a lot of men do abscond their responsibilities regardless of the fact that they engaged in consensual sex and that sex brought up what? A baby. And also note that consenting to sex is not equivalent to consenting to pregnancy. You do have sex for the reasons why you're having sex for them, but that does not mean that you are ready to be a mother, or you are equipped to be a mother, or you even have the capacities to be a mother. So there is a distinction between you consenting to sex. You might have sex either for pleasure or for any other reason that you're having that sexual activity, but that doesn't mean that you are also consenting to be a mother, because that is a different case on its own. And I do believe that women should have distinct rights in terms of sexual and reproductive health rights. It doesn't just stop at what you do, but it also goes beyond that in terms of what can you really do and what can you really ascertain in terms of your body. So if you do have sex and your body, because of that sex, becomes pregnant, you also must have a right and a choice to decide what happens to that pregnancy as a result of the sex. Just because you had sex doesn't mean that you have to be stuck with a pregnancy.
Do you think it's, like you're saying, do you think it's a bit unfair that women get to have these sort of questions posed at them versus men?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because men, especially Botswana men, they go around planting their seeds everywhere around. And they don't get questioned on when you were having sex with that woman, did you expect to be a father? And at a point where you decided to be a deadbeat father, no one questions the men. But women will get questioned. Matter of fact, women will be told that these are your babies, they're a blessing, you should keep them. As a mother, as a woman, you are meant to nurture these babies, you are meant to raise families, keep these babies. Because
I actually want to come back to you to speak a little bit more on that, to say a lot of the time we are told women are the gatekeepers. So yes, the responsibility does fall on you as a woman, but we'll come back to you. Let's bring you in, Dr. Donald.
Thank you so much. And thank you so kindly, our poet. I can see that you're getting heated. I think there's a string or thin line in what we are getting into to define certain things properly, because what we're getting into, the subject that we're getting into, it's not just the subject or a debate on choice. It's a debate on life, responsibility, and real life situations, which makes it difficult at times to even not or disagree with certain sentiments. For instance, in everything that she said, she was right. But at the same time, there's a hiccup to the fact that then she says autonomy is absolute. Then it brings the legal part of it. Autonomy without responsibility is dangerous.
Okay.
And we must, that's a point that I want to bring. Autonomy without responsibility.
I want to
dangerous.
throw that question that I've asked Motlatsi to say. First of all, do you think it's unfair that women get, to bear the responsibility? Because you're saying autonomy without accountability or responsibility is dangerous. But I also want to ask you, and I mean, how fitting is it that you're a man to say, but is it not unfair then to say women have to be the gatekeepers, not even a choice of do they want to be, but they have to be, because a lot of the time that responsibility then automatically lies on them, in them. It's their body that then gets to bear the consequences of this pregnancy, of the what happened.
What did you say, Cathy?
I want to pose the question to you.
Okay, what's the question?
The question is it not unfair that women then get to bear this responsibility? Because you're talking about we can't have autonomy without accountability or responsibility. So is it not unfair that women bear this responsibility, and also then what responsibility do men have to have?
It is also unjust for us to ignore the fact that they are the carriers of this whole situation. Because this is what I was trying to say, to bring the balance in the whole issue, so that we don't get to find ourselves now running after justifying the fact that something bad has happened to you or something atrocious has happened to you, therefore it means you are wrong, or it means you have the right to do the wrong. So I'm literally saying I agree with the fact that we cannot take the entire burden and place it on a woman. But at the same time, we have to be, I started with this point. There's need for us to teach, to educate our communities, our people. It starts there, it stems there. Because we will find ourselves making uninformed, uneducated decisions that will have a bearing on the future of our nation. So I'm saying, to your question, it is not right. But at the same time, I'm saying it is within the context of that when I'm saying it is not right.
How can we ensure that responsibility is not borne by women alone, and that men too also take responsibility?
It brings back the issue of culture. It brings back the issue of us as a people beginning to realize the importance of family setting, and also understanding that within our culture there are certain things that a man would not do and get away with, such as impregnating a woman or rape. Within our culture, there were you would not do such things and get away with them with such things.
Really?
Yeah. Within our culture. No, I'm not talking about, because culture is dynamic, it's evolving.
Yes.
So there's been changes over time because of adapting to new systems and all that. So then the law comes in. So this is why I said there's a hiccup in terms of bordering your rights with the laws that are in place. Because I can see the need, but I can also see the trap that we will fall into as a society if we just move along with one-sided issue without really putting our heads together and say, but what is the real issue? What is it that we can do as a people to remedy the situation, rather than to just say, then if this at the snap of a finger, then this is wrong, this is right. Yeah.
So what do we do to do that? How do we balance personal autonomy with, that responsibility? I'm interested in your ideas on how to do that. Motlatsi, let's bring you in on this one. And remember, if you're listening, we'd love to hear from you as well. You can call in. The studio line is 3956962. That's how you call us in studio. You can send a WhatsApp on the WhatsApp line. It is +267 3956962. You're listening to the Purple Playroom, and we're talking abortion today. We're interested in your thoughts on it. Do you think it's something that should be allowed legally? Apart from, we do have instances in Botswana where it is legal. I believe instances of rape, instances of incest, instances where it would be fatal for the mother to give birth, and also where the child is found to have some sort of deformity or sickness. So those are the cases in Botswana where it is actually legal, but I believe it is within the first 3 months of the pregnancy that abortion is legal. So those are the questions, the instances in Botswana where it's allowed. But coming back to this one, and we'll touch base on that a little later on. But for now, I'm interested in the listener as well, just talking to us about that. Is this something that you think we should be more open to, in Botswana? Should we just allow a woman especially to say, look, I do not want this child, so I do not want to keep this child, so I'm going to, what did you say, deleters, fetus? Yeah. Yeah, fetus deleted. Yeah. So talk to me, Motlatsi. What's your take on that? What's your take on that? Personal responsibility versus bodily autonomy.
Okay, so when I say that women have the autonomy to do whatever they want with their bodies, I did not say that we cannot be responsible for our actions. At a point where I consent to sex, and I also consent to the probable results of sex, then I must be held accountable. But if I consent to sex and I do not want the results of sex, then I cannot be trapped with the results of sex. So if I consent to sex for pleasure, but I don't want a baby, but my sex results in me having a baby, and that baby is inbred in me, then I should have the autonomy to say that I do not want to have this baby, and also do whatever I want to do with that baby. The problem that I have is that we tell women that you can't do that with your body, but we let men run amok and do their own thing. They go around doing what they want to do, but at no point do we call them back to say, but you've been going around doing 1, 2, 3. So at what point are you going to stop and be responsible and be a responsible father? But also in extension to that, I would like to say that even if we hone ourselves to culture, this is the same culture that tells you that so it confines us to say that these are our roles and these are our responsibilities. And because we've been programmed to think that this is what we're supposed to do, we somehow fall prey to these roles and responsibilities, and we fulfill gender roles. Even us who say that at some point we do reject them, you can find yourself subconsciously just fulfilling them because culture has socialized you to do so. So at some point, in terms of what could we do, I believe that maybe we must deconstruct the cultural narratives we have. Teach, like he said, teach our young women and our young men that you all have rights and you all have responsibilities, and you also have the autonomy and you also have the agency with your own body. You can do whatever it is that you want with your own body. And also, if you want to refuse and you want to do it, you can do whatever you want with your body. I believe that we all have that personal responsibility.
Can I chip in?
Yes.
I agree with my lady, except for the last part in terms of definition of autonomy.
Yeah.
That it's a dangerous place for us, because we don't own your body.
Who owns it?
You own your body. But if you're saying I have the right to do whatsoever I want with my body,
yes,
remember you've indulged in sex with another human being, and you are carrying another human being. So in terms of legalities, the right to live, because this is an issue of human right, the right to live, we all then have to be responsible. When I said responsibility, I was actually saying we have, as a community, we have to bring the men along. We have to find ways of bringing the man along. Find that man, even if he is not able to take care of you, but we have to find that guy and deal with that situation. If it was rape, whatever, because that child.
So you're saying it was
also has a right. When you're saying it's my body, remember your body is hosting another human being, regardless of the atrocity or mistake that took place, and we have to have a serious talk about that. My fear is that if we just go down the road of my body is mine alone, then we are actually saying you got pregnant alone.
And then you're not considering the child as well.
You're not considering the child.
We'll do that. We'll allow you to chip in, and I'd love for the listener to chip in as well. You're listening to the Purple Playroom. Remember, this particular conversation will be on our YouTube channel. It is the Purple Playroom. You can also find us where it matters on Instagram as well as on Facebook. We are on TikTok as well at the Purple Playroom. We continue this conversation. Do not touch that dial. We will be right back. This is Team Distant on Gabs FM featuring Ginger Stone. The song is called Colder Than Water, but I promise you we're bringing hotter than fire type of heat in studio today. I have in studio with me a human rights activist alongside a gentleman who leads a ministry, and we're having really interesting conversations. We're talking about abortion. Now, Motlatsi, you just wanted to come back to what Dr. Donald was saying. Remember, we'd love to hear from you as well. 3956962. That's the studio line. Our WhatsApp number is +267 3956962. Please just come back on the point that he just made. Or listen, you're saying he agreed with everything except the part where you said, my body's my body, I can do what I want. And his point is, you're saying that as though you made this baby alone. You made this baby with someone, and mind you, this baby is a whole nother life. Talk to us.
I was saying that is so wrong, because at a point where you concede to an idea like that, then you can also concede to the fact that a woman would not want a baby, but the man would claim to want a baby, and then this baby gets born, the man becomes a deadbeat father, this baby grows with daddy issues. We should also consider that pro-lifers have this idea that just because you gave birth, then that means that you are for the progress of humanity. But that isn't the fact. If you care about life, then you must also care about those people having healthy lives and having dignified lives. At a point where you give birth to a baby whose father wants nothing to do with her or him, and also when his mother looks at him, they see the trauma that they went through, they see everything that they don't want to experience, they see everything that they detest. That baby grows up to be a very disgruntled individual, and I don't think that's a pro-life idea. I think that's a very toxic narrative to even raise babies under, because why would you want to subject babies to such things?
You know, the way you're so poetic, but let me...
Is it even poetry though?
I'm thinking at the top of my head, like, okay, I hear you, and I hear you loud and clear. But at the same time, I'm still saying, look, let's debate. Let's seriously debate. Like I said, the issue of abortion is not just a debate on choice. It's a debate on life.
Yes.
And we have to, if we're talking life, then we can't just single out you as a carrier of that child and say, for as long as you feel it's right to abort the child. It cannot be right if we build such a society that has no regard for life. Because that fetus there, it's life. It probably, that baby also is crying and pleading and saying, can I be given a chance? probably I am that child
Yeah.
sitting here speaking today on behalf of the unborn who were not born the right way
Okay.
or who were born out of trauma.
Yeah.
And I'm here and I'm able to lead some people and show them that there's purpose in life. Despite what your parents went through, despite the rejection, you still have a life and a purpose in life to fulfill. Can we give that unborn child an opportunity to be born?
How do we build that kind of society that does that? I agree, you're saying we need to have this society.
I said we need to have that society. We have to have a conversation. This is why when I started, I said I think we look at abortion topics as if it's a taboo. We can't even talk about it in our community.
Especially in spiritual or religious circles, it's like, yeah, that's no.
I'm not sure. I'm a church boy. I've been in church all my life.
So
but the issue is I think we choose what we want to talk about and ignore things that are really serious, issues that can really build the next generation. Because if you let the next generation live without understanding that there are these issues happening. This is why right now we're having GVB and we don't know how to tackle it. Because the next thing we're focusing on the girl child and we neglect the boy child.
Yeah.
The next thing we're going back to the boy child, we neglect the girl child. So we don't realize the issue is family setting. We don't have families.
Yeah.
Everything stems from there.
And that's something that I think is very true, because even when you look just at the extended family and the fact that it's really disintegrated and not something that exists in our nation anymore, and it was something that was assisting with so many things, like with your childcare, with your counseling, just having that extended family really assisted a lot of the time.
But it did as a girl child, when you are raped or something has happened to you, the family can come together and assist emotionally, and even take the child from you.
I was about to say, at the same time, it's also been a problem, because then sometimes you find that extended family are the ones, committing the crimes, and then we cover it up. But let's bring in, and you've already touched on this one, Motlatsi, of our traditional and cultural views and expectations, to say, can this right we're saying women have, can this responsibility versus autonomy, that balance that we need to have, can it coexist at the same time as our culture? Now, you said something earlier, Dr. Donald, our culture is dynamic, so it moves with the time. And that is really the case, though I think in some instances it's gone left and it's taken a turn for the worse. Like, I really believe the way our mahadi and bride price is paid in Botswana is very skewed, because that's never what it was traditionally. So now I just think it's a bit of a mess. So let's bring that one to this particular instance, because in some cases you would get pregnant and you knew, okay, I'm not going to be able to take care of this child, but I've got an aunt and this many people who help me, so you'd keep the child because of that. At the same time, let's not close our eyes to the fact that sometimes it's your uncle raping you. And then we don't talk about these things and we don't air our dirty laundry in the public. So talk to me about this. Can they coexist?
Can they coexist? Yes, they can.
Our right to choose, and
they can. The one thing that brings in that balance is legalities or law. Law balances all these things, and I applaud the people who have gone ahead of us to enact such laws around the issues of abortion. And I think the laws that are there already, personally, I feel they're adequate. They are fulfilling the purpose, and they are not in any way depriving women of their rights. They are actually protecting life. And also, because if you look at all those laws, you have the right to choose to abort. at a certain time
Yes.
for certain reasons that are
Yes.
stipulated in the law, right?
Yes.
And rape,
incest,
incest.
if it will endanger your life,
if
if
it endangers
the
your life.
child is deformed or sick.
You see what I mean? So our lawmakers were so brilliant, and I was looking at that and thinking, wow. So we have we have had a generation of great minds who thought deeply about these things and not be rigid as other nations would be. There are places you would not even talk about abortion, even if it endangers the mother.
Yeah.
Still, you just have to face that. Yeah, but we should say the laws of Botswana are bringing the balance. You know.
So you think as it is, the status quo is perfect?
It's perfect.
I disagree.
Talk to us.
Yeah. Before I can chip in on the culture and the laws, I would like to just take you back to where you were saying that in terms of the responsibility and autonomy, you just have to think that this is beyond you just having a right to your body, but it also has to do with the legality of the matter. If we are going to engage law, then are you also saying that you are willing to consider other things such as the Nasitra's pictures and also the reasoning that life doesn't begin at conception but at birth? So that means that if you are pregnant, you are not carrying a human being, so you can abort if you want to because you're not killing a human life. Are you willing to concede those things? But before you can answer those things in terms of culture and our laws. So the law does have exceptions. And in these exceptions, I don't think that they coexist with culture, because the reason why the family is the founding block of socialization is because the family is the same structure that safeguards society. So in these exceptions of when can you abort in Botswana, in the first 3 months, the third trimesters, if you are a victim of one, rape. If you are a victim of rape, how long does it take for you to even confirm that you've been raped, the rape kits and every other thing that you have to go through to confirm that you actually do need to be confirmed that you are a victim of rape and therefore you are eligible for abortion? By the time you get to be confirmed that you are eligible for abortion, 3 months have passed in Botswana. Our criminal justice system.
Wait, what do you mean? How, in terms of being eligible for, as in you don't have the evidence that you were raped?
I mean, with our criminal justice system, you get raped and then you go to the hospital, you get a rape kit, and then there you must say that, okay, I want to abort. What is the process and how long does it take for you to be able to abort? Do you actually get access abortion services within the 3 months that you can abort? That is the question that I'm posing. Is that the reality? Do women actually do get that access?
I believe they do, but that would need a legal access.
Can I chip in?
Yeah, but before you chip in, I just wanted to also...
So that I don't forget something. Okay. No. Okay. No, go ahead.
I wanted to also weigh in on incest and defilement.
Yeah.
Okay.
On incest and defilement, you get raped by your own uncle or you get defiled by somebody who has power, and that somebody offers your mother combo ya 500 and then your mother decides gore ke ngota bipampa ka mabele. Even your family members can do that. Gore maloma go tsetse dikoba ka dikgoka ba bipampa ka mabele. So even the exceptions say no gore ke ngwadinela gore okay o ka abota if you've been a victim of 1 2 3. The same family now santse gore go protect ya go safeguard tsone di culprits tsa gago. The same community santse gore e go protect is safeguard di culprits tsone tsa bana gore ba go subjectile to rape or to incest or to defilement. So can we really say that even in those exceptions women do have access to abortion, or even girl children?
Legally they do. Legally they do. Clearly it's an issue of education. We need to be deliberate about training and talking to our people. Most of our people don't know their rights. They don't know where they start and where they end. I was actually saying this to agree with you, to say there can be that situation where it's not the law itself that is actually keeping you away from accessing help, and then it becomes the issue of you not knowing. And you see, but the point I really embrace this idea. You see, a society that embraces family setting or block as its foundation and the only thing that can build the society going forward. Ke gore, even if there's incest, I'm a pastor. I've sat down with families. Tse leng gore ke ithala le gore lona bile le bua ka bo uncle. Ithala le gore the father, the biological father, is the one doing that. I mean, and you can imagine kele moruti wa moshimanyana kele monye at the time, having to go through that to counsel such people and sit down with them. But then my point ke gore, when we have such societies, church also plays that part, that role.
Yes.
It brings families together. It builds the society. We have other people by training to be able to bring family. Some of these family members, but you must understand, Cathy, bo rape, bo GVB,
What development?
di dirwa ke gone gore isolelo e kwa tlase mo magaeng. And bana hela ha thoga hela tswa a nna 13 ebile o setse monna ke yo ebile a neelwa monna mo gongwe ile
The mother who's doing it. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Ke sone se ke go rang ke re dio tse dingwe we don't talk about them, we choose not to. Mme ke dio tse leng gore they are hurting our society. Ona bua ka kganya trauma. Some people are traumatized.
I was actually about to ask you that, to say, you're talking about, go bopaganya a family.
Yeah.
And, in my mind, I'm wondering, you're saying that you have had cases where you are bringing together an abuser and their victim.
Yeah.
And that's something that you think is good?
First of all, I'm a man of God, and my job is to get everyone to the right side, to the light.
Even if
So you think there is light in that? Is that not a traumatic setting?
Take your expenses, more counseling, more molaong. Court ya bana ha go tsene bagolo akere mo counseling how dira a se mo le mo dirang counseling yo ka counselor ngwana ga tshwana. So you have to have been trained to do that. So but rona as spiritual people, we deal with all these things because within our church settings. So you can always take this one would say and everyone, and then we try to bring reconciliation, we try to help people. But because they are demon possessed and we are dealing with spirits, unseen things. So you can't just say because he's wicked and all that, so haro motogela wa go ripa yo mongwe gape ha le sa mothusi la mo rapella la mo deliver.
What about motho o repileng gore aba
go tsa nako gore motho nya ga le motisi ga mmogo a kere go tisa di family ga mmogo ke go le ka gore ha ngwa re dila le kgang ya ineng re bua ka yona gore ba instead of dealing with issues batsadi ba tsa di gifts be ba togala ngwana le traumatized, and then the perpetrator lene o feel gore una le right to the child, and nobody reports anything.
I'm talking about that case you mentioned earlier where you've got a father raping their biological child.
Yeah.
When you bring those two together, yes,
No, you don't bring them together.
Oh, okay.
How ka kwa counselor ngwana le motho yo because ngwana
That's the part where I don't understand you. That's what I was trying to.
No, I was actually just saying these things I've met such things.
Yeah.
So gona le batho ba bangwe ba ileng gore le gompieno ga ke bua le wena ba ba tona ba dira ditiro hela tse ditona tse re ka se ra bua, but they have opened up to me and say na moruti ke tshotswe ke ithala ile gore my mother was raped ke ngwana wa I'm a result of rape.
Yeah.
But the mother did not abort that child. Gompieno ngwana yo o tshedisa mmago a tshotswa le nosi o tshedisa mmagwe o dira dihela tse di tona mo setšhabeng wa contribute mo setšhabeng. And that was the point that I wanted to bring ya gore, you know what, let's give them a chance. Re tlhaloganya diemo.
I feel like we keep coming back to the same points, right? You're making the same points, and because I wanted now to touch a lot on our tradition and our culture, but it keeps coming back down to create a society that, you know, allows a child to have life. And you're saying, look, women, we just have too much on our tables. But I want to bring this one in to say, let's now talk about some of the challenges, right? We've touched on some of them. When we're talking about these traditional and cultural views and versus a woman having access to this healthcare, what are some of the challenges that can come up?
The challenges can be, like he said, not knowing the law. For example, you get raped and then you go report, go kotling. A customer court can't deal with matters that rape. So when you go kotling,
mediation.
Yes. How we gonna legal redress the challenge that we happen not on in terms of like sexual assault or any other thing that might need you to have an abortion that you need to take beyond your family. If your family is not with you, ebo wena o le ngwana, or maybe wena o le victim, or you're a victim of incest or even a victim of rape, and o le ka go reporta. Either you get frustrated by the legal system or you get frustrated by the same people that are supposed to be your support network, be it your family or your community, because the disclaimer or the idea is always been that you're going to bring shame to rona ba re go itseng, which is very shameful itself, because why would you shame a victim? Why would you even think that somebody who's been victimized is going to bring shame to you? Let's bring you shame again, the culprit. So the challenge in that one is that sometimes you can't even go to the police. I've been violated and I need help, therefore I have to access abortion services, because oh my god, get raped in these circumstances, and these circumstances but because they okay, so when I'm like how no rape you yan o no wa pere miniskirt ibile no tagile no se expect gore ta rape you, so lwena o tshaba gore we go report or kana mnyano ke violate ile ke kopa gore ke you access to abortion services, because your community, your friends, your society, everybody is against you and shaming you, because victim blaming exists in Botswana, and every now and then we actually do it. If you could look at the transcript that the court cases that the rape, the potso tsa teng yan, victim blaming na gore victim no le mo stating say no wa pere yang no itsayang o no ireg. So ke tsone challenge tsa teng tsena gore lo ena hela ha le motho ene gore you must access services. Sometimes you can't, or you don't even take a step ya gore we go di access, because you know very well gore wa go judge you, so you'd rather not.
I think I'm going to ask you to actually speak to what you think could be some of the solutions to the challenges that she's talking about.
Yeah, I think that's
why I gotta come up with solutions.
Okay, let me say.
Come up with solutions, because we agree. I want to believe all of us agree.
You've noticed that I was like really soaking in it. I was actually thinking to myself, like, I think there's need. I gotta relay the laws around abortion are watertight.
Yes, that's kids.
But then I had this thing in my mind when she was talking, like, look at the loopholes. We have good laws, but we can't seem to understand how to bring remedy to
just ignorance of the laws.
Ignorance of the law, again, not only from us victims, even the officers of the law.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest, I think there is need for, I'm not sure, the government to really work hard or train a certain unit within the police services to handle these issues
of rape and GBV.
Of rape and GBV.
Yes, but I believe those were actually supposedly trained. I just don't know whether they were implemented.
But then if they are there, I don't know who trained them and where they trained, because I have had cases. It's a GVB. And I've seen how police can change. I mean, when you're bringing a person who's been brutally battered by an individual, right? With guns, with exhibit. Or here are guns. This guy wanted to shoot this person. Assault. And then the next thing you see that person out there. Same day. And then I'm thinking, you know what she said? It really touched me because I know what she meant when she says there's blame game in this whole thing. Mo go twing what's up? The go kila ga nna le semo go stationing. How wa per mean skirt. But I mean, we have gone that crazy. But I'm saying there is need for us to take this route. But at the same time, I'm thinking the government should say we need to train a unit within the police force that is going to deal with these issues. I'm sorry to mention this. You know, but very close to me. Rape. And it took long. Motho yo raipilweng go no ho motho yo raipileng yo mongwe a sa tsewe a ntshiwa ho le ho ha le go spatala le mmogo le motho yo raipileng yo mongwe, you know, such things. I'm saying there's need for us to look into these issues and say, but we need to reform our police services.
All right, so we're going
and then
to...
do the bue mo radio gangwe le gape ka rape gore ha motho a rapeilwe ha motho abuse go diragalang go dira a ye kae.
All right, we're going to take a musical break, and just to remind you that we'd love for you to take part in this conversation as well. You can dial in on 3956962. You can send a WhatsApp on +267 3956962. This is the Purple Playroom. We're talking abortion today, and my guest in studio one is a Pan-African feminist. She uses poetry, as you heard Dr. Donald saying. Everything she says even sounds poetic when she's just dropping points. And what she does is she uses poetry to embrace the essence of being all that an African woman is. She's also an activist who uses her voice to call for spaces that are inclusive and safe. She is also a fashionista. She uses and fuses arts and fashion to embody her activism, very much speaking to human rights. And we also have in studio a Botswana-based church leader. He's also an author, a social justice advocate. He's also the founder and presiding prelate of Revelation Times Ministry International. This is a ministry he's led since 1997. So since he was young, he's had quite a lot of cases that he's come across, and this is a ministry that's got a growing presence in Botswana and across Africa. We continue the conversation. This is the Purple Playroom. You're listening to the Purple Playroom, the best nighttime radio, and we are here every Tuesday from 10 to 12 midnight on Gabs FM. My name is Cathy Malejane. I like to tell people I'm #CuriousCat because I have so very many questions. Yes, basically we're keeping you here for 2 hours, and we're getting into the second hour, just at the very beginning of the second hour. Actually, there's a question that I want to pose to the both of you to say, are we not worried? Do we not think that if now we say that abortion is easily accessible and available, right? Because you're arguing, Motlatsi, that we should make abortion available to somebody who, just because you had sex doesn't mean you need to face the consequences. But do you not worry, or don't you think it could potentially be a problem where now people use abortion as a form of contraception?
May I ask for clarity, what do you mean when you say abortion as a form of contraception?
As in, instead of using birth control, right? Because it's not like every time you have sex you have to get pregnant, because there are things you can do. You can use protection, you can take the preventative pills and so forth. And if we don't do that, then we just know it's fine. We can just abort. So let's just be reckless.
Okay. Before I specifically address that question, may I also highlight that these are some of the double standards that are imposed on women? Because this question assumes that women are the ones that are supposed to take responsibility for pregnancy, and men are just supposed to deposit their sperm and nothing is going to happen to them. Because why are we assuming that when women get pregnant and then they abort, then that's a form of contraception? But on to the actual
because women are the ones who end
get
up
pregnant, right? On to the actual conversation. Because women are the ones who get pregnant, abortion is a very exhausting and very tardy and very harmful process. Number one, emotionally, sexually, physically, medically, financially, every otherwise. So there is no way that women would opt for that form of contraception unless we are saying that maybe women just want to.
But this is the question to say, I get it right now, there's so much of a hassle to get an abortion. So the question comes from the backdrop of, if we make it easy now for women to have an abortion and we promote it to say, guys, you can have safe abortions, you can, this is something you can do, you're not forced to have that child as a consequence. Are we not then opening the door for that to be the case? That's the question.
No, we're not. Unfortunately, it's a bizarre stance because they move to decriminalize abortion or even legalize abortion is not so that women can just have abortions whenever they want to. It is so that we can avert the backstreet abortions that are had. We can save so many lives from the unregulated abortions, and we can also make it easy for the women who are circumvented to the actual perpetrators of heinous crimes, sexual crimes, who can abort. It's not a stance that to say that, oh guys, you can now abort, so go and have sex and then you can abort. That is not the conversation. The conversation is that this has been happening. This is the status quo. So many women have been dying, girl children have been dying because of backstreet abortions.
Yes, and in fact, what has been happening, as I mentioned when we started off the conversation, is that about 23% of the maternity mortalities, maternal mortalities that happen are as a result of somebody had an abortion, and now when you're trying to have a child, something goes wrong because that abortion was not performed properly. Moruti, I'd like you to weigh in on this one.
No, I thought that part is hers. She's doing well, but nevertheless, I think, truth be told, sepe se se hitiwang kana se regadiwang as illegal, mme gona le tshwanelo gongwe e rileng ya gore motho o ka se dire, will result to what we are seeing. Gona go crossa the border go batwa safe abortion go tsana mo go 19 mo or delete what
fetus.
I think now I'm going to keep saying we need to have a serious conversation as a nation about these things, so that whether it's happening and it's hurting our people. It's hurting our children. O khona go lemoga le gore ga ba tshabe le gore ga ba tshabe le gore matshelo a bona mo diphatseng, they can literally die. But they are forced by circumstances. But if we had conversations around these issues, we would save lives, because this is about life, saving lives.
So having conversations,
right to life,
and I keep trying to come back to this one to say, what would be the most balanced way that we can do that? Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of education, I think, that needs to happen. First of all, just on our laws, what's legal and what's not. Because like you're saying, once people are not aware that you can, if you've been raped in Botswana, the law allows you within the first 3 months to get an abortion. And I want to believe, I don't know, this one thought I don't know, but I want to believe that if you have at the very least a police report to show whether I was raped, then you should be able, and this is, by the way, in both government and private clinics. Though coming down to the actual people, the enforcers, the officers, I'm not sure whether they are aware or what kind of stigma would come to you as a result. But our law does say government and private clinics, hospitals are allowed and it is part of the mandate for them to deliver an abortion to you. Should you be raped, should there have been incest, should this child endanger your life, and should this child have a deformity or a sickness, that is the law. So we believe, and I believe we agree that we need education on that. But now once we have that education, and then when we throw in some access, what's the best way of balancing it? Because on one hand, we really don't want it to become that birth control measure we spoke about.
But my problem is I still do have, and I still am uncomfortable with framing abortion with the possibility of being used as a contraceptive, because I don't think that it can get to that point. Because even with the contraceptives that women already have, they themselves are already harmful, and women still do take them.
Are people aware that they're harmful? Because much as you are saying that is not a possibility.
Yes.
I can't remember the study, but something showed right now the generations that are, very highly sexual are not, because they don't know about the stigma, or not the stigma, the consequences of HIV AIDS. They're more afraid of pregnancy than of AIDS. And you'll find a lot of the time the morning after pill is the thing that is, so it gets ARV, I'll still be fine.
And it is so bad. This is the reason why, when he said that we must have education, the education doesn't just go to abortion, sex education, like comprehensive sex education. Because the scares that we have right now go on again, but and even more the contraceptives that we use as women, let's when toxics, when the implants, the IUD,
they really mess with your hormones. Yes.
That's why I believe it can't get to an extent where we could use abortion as a contraceptive, because I believe of all the contraceptives that exist, if at all abortion was to be put as an option, it would be the worst of the options.
But you've just conceded that right now people are using the morning after pill as a form of birth control, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at, in terms of your hormones, what that does to you, because technically that is an abortion, technically. Right?
Technically.
Right?
Cathy,
within 72 hours.
No,
technically. No, I'm just saying, right?
Okay.
But, right?
No,
so
Cathy,
then let me bring you in on that.
I was privileged to travel the world.
Yeah.
And at an early age of my ministry, when I was starting to preach, and I was stuck somewhere in East Africa, Uganda, 2002. I was preaching for some churches there. So I had an opportunity of interacting with a whole lot of Christian leaders and so forth, and just like that. What shocked me was what they believed about abortion. That using a condom was regarded as abortion.
Because you're killing the sperms.
Because you're killing the sperms. And I was arguing with a medical practitioner.
Wow.
Who was brainwashed by church doctrine to believe that using a condom means you are aborting.
I remember having that conversation with somebody from the Roman Catholic Church saying, according to the church, I think it was the Roman Catholic Church, I stand to be corrected, to say just using that condom is just such a bad thing. Yeah. So that's where I'm saying, what is the most balanced way that we can do this? What would need to shift in order for us to get to that society that we've been talking about? Because I think at the end of the day, there are quite a number of things that we agree on. Because you're saying men need to be held responsible as well, which is pretty much what Motlatsi is saying, right? So there are certain things we agree on to say everybody needs to be held responsible. Motlatsi, you're also saying, look, if you look at just the consequences, let's agree that education needs to happen for everyone, because you should not be doing any of these things without understanding the consequences of it. Even as a woman who says, this is my body, if you love your body, you'll understand the huge toll that any of these different types, if we're going to call the morning after pill a contraceptive, and if we're going to call let's hope we never get there, abortion, a form of birth, it takes a huge toll on you. So let's talk about what needs to shift so we can get that society.
Let me leave.
I mean, if I gave you a canvas and said, paint the most ideal, way that this can go, what would come up here on that canvas? First, I want to believe education, right?
I believe, personally, I believe, you know what? You cannot expect people to do what they don't know. So for them to know, they must be told. But somebody is not telling them that where we are going is not the right destination. And I think we need to pause as a nation and say, this is getting out of way.
What are you referring to? What are you referring to? How is this getting out of the way? Where we're going? Where we're going?
Had statistics.
Yes.
Across.
And these are from 2019, 2020. So you can imagine we're now 5-6 years
scary.
later.
And at this time, who the HIV and AIDS, who yet this generation. So we are losing a generation to this thing. So bana ba bangwe ba go hella ba sna di wumbu ba go hella go there will not be. I mean, we're a nation of 2 million people, and we needed every one of us to be fruitful, at least to create a serious market for us in this country,
so we can multiply.
So
be fruitful and multiply. Motlatsi, what's your take? What needs to change? Like, I'm really wanting us to, as we close this conversation, near to the close of it, to say, what are some of the things that we need to shift in order to allow this to change? We spoke about culture earlier. I like that you've said it's dynamic. So what do we need to change about our culture? And can I just throw this at you? Do you not think that we should maybe stop mahadi so that it becomes a situation of, because too much of the time the misconception is so that sometimes men think so I can do whatever I want with you because I paid cows for you.
My whole point is on impactful education. So before I can just talk about how we must just restructure ourselves as a society, you see how I don't want to say we won the HIV scourge because in the pandemic,
yes, definitely.
We win because ABC.
Abstain, be faithful, and condom. We check.
Yes. I had a previous discussion almost every education stage grassroots education everywhere comprehensive sex education, not gore be retela ka deal de be re tsupentsa gore condom e tsengwa ya no gore sex go tewa eng how have a sex go diragala yang ha sa batho gore se se iragale, what must you do, what could you do, what should you do, or what if go ka iragala gore seno sa se eletsa be se iragala o ka ira yang gape. All of those we need to know them, go demystify the conversation around sex, because na go moto itela gore people don't take the right decisions because honestly a lot of taboos and shame around like sexual education and just like sex talk like I bona ban. So gore re bua hela ka tsone dikgantsa sex ke bona more ka go thusang gore at a point where your teenage child o simolola go na le sexual feel ba gona go bolella gore nna kana go ntsana o bo gona go mmolella gore ha go ka iragala yana o ire yana es ka re ka moso bo itaile gore keng we have unprotected sex and now they want to have an abortion and they can't even talk to you. Next thing they're using a hanger.
Wait, when you say sex education, are you talking about in schools? Where exactly do you see this sex? Should they have it at church, schools, at home, all of the above?
All institutions, all agents of church.
And at what age?
Education.
Church. At what age? At what age are we talking?
When we start being sexually active, I think psychologists at what age do you start?
I agree with her. You know, during the scourge, HIV and AIDS, the church was resisting at first.
Yeah.
And we were some of the people who came to the forefront and said, no, we're having people dying because Lona, you are not yet affected, like you said, Khantel. No, we can't talk about those things because we're going to be talking about sex in church. But sex is happening in church. Why can't we talk about it? These human beings, but they were produced through sex. So let's talk about that. And we normally don't want to talk about things that really matter. We hide behind culture, we hide behind religion and belief systems until stories Uganda. Remember what happened to Uganda, because they were not using condoms, they were not condomizing, they were almost swept by HIV and AIDS. They were the leading country at some point. And then with a small population.
Yeah, ours was a lot because our population was so small.
Was so small.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can tell, Cathy, because we see this strata, it was happening. And now it's even worse because we're being infiltrated by drugs.
So you're saying sex education is the way to go about it?
Sex education is the way to go about it. We need to have serious talks. Everywhere.
At what age are we talking? Is this something we're targeting the young people? Because the other issue I want to bring up to you is, much as we're saying the young, a lot of the things that are happening in Botswana are multi-generational relationships and sex.
Yeah.
So much as we are saying the young, I mean, they're not having sex with their age mates.
When we say the young, is because Baba Ngoba to look education, I think, they're doing funny things.
Yeah.
But we're saying this because we have a generation to save. Right? At least with the remnants, those that are still there, we can save them by educating them. There's absolutely... change of mindset will only happen when there is education, and we need to be deliberate about that. We need to say our kids ba lebella pornography.
The phone, yes.
They access pornography at the age of 7, 8.
And that kills them. It does something to that,
because
to that psyche.
I think it's so interesting. So now both of you are falling on you're agreeing with it to say education. I want to talk a little bit about our laws. I want us to touch base a little on our culture and then just ourselves. You talked about how we'll victim shame you. We'll still have that sort of stigma on you if you report an incident, all of those kind of things. Let's talk about that. Remember, this is the sex show, because if it's about sex, we're talking about it. This is the Purple Playroom. We're with you all the way till midnight, every Tuesday from 10 to 12 midnight. My name is Cathy Malejane. We are together all the way till then. Remember this number, 3956962. You can send a WhatsApp as well to +267 3956962, or you can catch us on the socials. This conversation will be live and direct on YouTube. The Purple Playroom is how you will find it, and otherwise we are also on TikTok, on Facebook, as well as on Instagram. Priscilla K on Gabs FM giving us a song called King. Before then, another one, Homegrown Sounds, is what I love to absolutely play. So I gave you something from Brando. That one is called Slow Motion, taking us in slow motion to the very close of the tail end of our conversation. We have about 10-15 minutes more of the conversation, and there's still quite a bit that I wanted us to touch base on. I just tried to ask to say what needs to shift in order for us to have this society that we, are ideally looking for. Do you think that our culture and our religion play a part in shaping the law or the culture around abortion at this point in time? And if yes, what needs to shift? What needs to shift as far as our religion and our culture? I think you said, let's let the church be involved in everything. Let's let these conversations happen in church. What about the stigma attached to somebody having an abortion?
I think, thank you, Cathy. I think one of the things that we have to talk to is issues of legality, legal issues. If you change the law, you have to educate people about the law. What I've noticed is that because like I said, our culture is dynamic. We change every now and then, depending on what technology has come in. So we tend to sound more American. The next thing we sound more South African. The next thing we sound British. Australia or something. So we bring all these things around. But how lebella mahasi re ileng rana the exposure ya melao ye mengwe mo yone. We tell a gore bone their systems and culture. Here the liberals. But then when you come back home, then you're faced with this reality here, you can't say to Musadi Moholo a go pili ko gore ya no ra go simolla go dira abortion hela mahala hela go sena. But ha gona le molao go le clear gore abortion ya go dirwa jaaka ne ke tlhalosa ka molao o teng gona abortion ya go dirwa ka lebaka le hela maybe ne go mo go rutiwang go leka go boloka matshelo a batho gona le gore batho bana ba rona ba tswe ha ba go South Africa ba tswe ha ba tsene mo di khone mo ba dirise di hangara ya ka na bua di pena head of all those things ba nwedio tse di ba bola ya ntse di re ha go le clear gore mme kana la hele gore mola wa khanna ona le opportunity ya gore ka terminate this pregnancy because of these reasons.
Yeah.
Gona le gore le motho a itse gore motho gona le gore motho a ye go terminate mme a sa itse gore wa coveriwa ke molao anga ba dirile a safe one. So I'm thinking we're still going to go back to issue ya gore molao ka thusa gore dio tse dingwe di amogelesege di sa lebiwe le tabu ele ko dikerekeng tsa rona re bua ka tsone.
But how? Because the law is already as it is, right? So how would the
just honestly ke how molao o rutiwa go rutiwa batho gore because gore ba ntse o ratse boikarabelo ja gore a rute batho ka molao and re talk di activists tse di tshwanang bo ene yana to be vocal about these things because go mo go bua ka bomme and go mo go botlhokwa because we all have to be rallying behind bomme go make sure gore ga re lose the next generation. They're the carriers of the next generation.
Yeah.
If we lose them, then we
So you're saying the law doesn't necessarily need to change. We just need to get a little bit more vigilant about imposing it,
yes,
right, and implementing it.
Yes.
I think you both agreed to say education, is very important. You're saying Motlatsi, sex education across the board, all the institutions will figure out at what age, but let's just make sure there's comprehensive sex education. And by the way, the Purple Playroom was actually our initiative to do that. So when Ross sat down, and this is her brainchild, just, that was the whole thinking to say, we really need to have these platforms. I remember there used to be something called Pact Modikolo, and it's not there. Pact is actually, Ross is actually a Pact educated. She was a peer educator. And she was also part of a show that used to take place annually called Just Sex, which I think also just made her realize that we need to have these conversations. And for me, I've always been very interested in all the nuances around the sex that is happening, to say the relationships, the challenges, the consequences in this particular instance, because pregnancy and thereby leading to abortion is a consequence. So coming to you, Motlatsi, to say, there are so many challenges around this because when you look at this ideal society that we love, because that was one of the things that you brought up, to say if we had things the best way, we'd have a society that lets the man know that you also need to take responsibility, but also lets the woman know there's a body inside you, there's a person inside you, so you really do need to, it's not your body only because of that person inside you, so you need to think about that person. So if we had that ideal society, Motlatsi, do you think that we would still have these problems? Do you think that abortion would still be something that we needed to advocate so fiercely for?
I think if we were living in utopia, we wouldn't have those problems and we wouldn't be having those conversations.
So what are some of the misconceptions that you see right now around abortion, besides the stigma, besides just the ignorance? What are some of the misconceptions?
That women just decide to abort to spite the baby daddies or the prospective baby daddies.
Don't some do?
I do not think, okay, some might do. I do not have the full context or the full information about that. But I would like to say that with the reality that even with the exceptions that you can abort if you've been a victim of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a lot of women who are victimized in that regard still don't have access to abort. The reason why I believe that legalizing abortion or decriminalizing is the way to go is because when you decriminalize, you make it destigmatized. The reason why we can't even have comprehensive sex education, even around abortion, is because it is a crime. And even with the exceptions, it still is a crime. So because society knows that there's a crime, there is stigma around it, there are taboos around it. And if we decriminalize or legalize, then we can have prospective conversations. And even women who are victimized, in these exceptions, if you are a sex worker and you get raped, you will not get full access to abortion like any other woman, because as a key population yourself, you have your own things that are keeping you away from even being aided by medical practitioners or even health workers. So it's a whole problem that it doesn't even affect ordinary women. It affects key populations, affect women living with disabilities, because at some point it even becomes a denial of access because somehow you don't know what you are supposed to access because your family is depriving you from the information that you're supposed to learn. So it's a whole plethora of challenges that have to do with the fact that abortion itself is not legal and abortion itself is a crime.
I've got a message from somebody saying, yes, they do. I think this is where we're talking about women having abortions to spite their partners.
Yeah.
And they're saying, yes, they do. It happened to I think they mean to say it happened to me 2 times. Yeah. So, I mean, I have heard of instances where that was the case, where we'll have a fight and then the one will be like, no, I'm not. So...
Yeah, actually, I had a conversation with someone today and it told me that the same thing,
that their partner went and had an abortion to spite them.
Yeah, just to.
Yeah. So let's bring our conversation to a close and let's see where we land. We've said a lot of things need to shift. We've said education needs to happen. Our law needs to get better enforced and implemented. You're saying we need to decriminalize and destigmatize as a way to destigmatize abortion. What's your take on that?
I disagree with. Because of a cultural setup, and also because we don't engage in serious talk about this. The moment we open up and talk, I mean, I kind of like recall the days of HIV and that people were so stigmatized that I don't know whether it's kukwane ngwana if you are command. It's a command.
It once happened to me.
Right there, everyone would be thinking, yeah.
Wait, so if you were bitten sort of on your thyroid, because I get it then normally if you have a problem, your thyroid swells up.
It festers and then it looks like you have.
Wow.
Well, for instance, I was doing a prayer and fasting for 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I came out from the house, and news were going around that Muruti is going.
You're so thin.
Yeah, because I was so thin. No, he's gone. It's gone.
When was this? The late 90s?
Yeah. So before we had all these
The ARVs
and stuff.
Yeah.
So this is gone. So I'm saying I think conversations are important.
So you're saying we don't need to legalize it. We just need to talk about it and close the loopholes.
The legal part that is there has covered everything, and is actually, because understand that human rights or laws are made to safeguard the rights of the citizen.
True.
So if we just leave them like that and open up floodgates, we are actually permitting even the things that we did not expect. At least when we still have limitations, we can be able to know who is right and who's wrong. I'm just saying, what is there already, what has been provided in the law already is good enough. It's just that people don't know. But if our police services can be told, they need to be trained. Our nurses nurses and doctors need to be trained. We need to have units that work together with nurses.
So once somebody comes in, or once someone goes to the police for a rape kit and then goes to the hospital, these two need to
work together.
Yeah.
And we need to have people there who are...
You're actually reminding me of an incident where I got to a police station and, that was... I tried to put myself in that young lady's. That young lady apparently had been raped, and I went and I was there for about an hour, and I left before she did, because she was waiting for a hospital I think that had a rape kit. So you can imagine, because now Ghana, you're coming in with this person's DNA, and also just sitting in the community center. And why did I have to also find out about it? It means they were talking about it. You want some sort of privacy, right?
Exactly.
There's no privacy.
About how they'll just say, hey,
So we're going to play our last song before we come through and give our closing statements and thoughts. This one comes through from Polo D featuring Hansi. It's called Grateful. That's how I am. For you having hung out with us, and well, to the two of you for getting into conversation with us. This is the Purple Playroom. It's 23:55. It is about that time where we will close up the conversation. I'm going to ask you just to share your last thoughts and give out your contact details. Motlatsi, the ladies first. We'll start with you.
Thank you very much. I would just like to say that the law on abortion in Botswana right now does not serve women or girl children or anybody else who is actually involved in sexual activities. My name is Motlatsi Mogorosi. You can catch me on TikTok as Toffee267, on Facebook Motlatsi Mogorosi. I am a Pan-African activist, and it was nice being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming through, Dr. Donald Motsumi.
And thank you, Cathy and Motlatsi. It's been a beautiful night tonight, and I hope I was not all that controversial, because I don't want to be. But thank you so much. My name's Donald Motsumi, Donald Kefense Motsumi. Yeah. The Archbishop of Canterbury. And I lead a ministry called Revelation Times Ministries International. It's here in Botswana. It has a footprint in Botswana, across Botswana. I think I told her. And East Africa, we also have started in Europe, United Kingdom, and trusting God for expansion. We are called Revelation Times Ministries International, RTM. That's our name. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both so very much for coming through. It has been an amazing conversation.
She says I must be praying.
Yeah, no, we'll let you pray. I want to just let the listener know that you can catch us on social media. We are on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, and if you just type the Purple Playroom, you will find us. And if you go to YouTube, on that you will be able to actually catch all the episodes. We had quite a lot of interesting conversations. We spoke about spirituality and sex. We spoke about sexual hygiene. We've spoken about vaginal health. These are just a couple of the conversations we've had, because on on the Purple Playroom, we believe it's important for us to talk about these things because sex is being had in Botswana, though it is still considered quite a controversial or taboo topic. It is something that we are very intentional about on the Purple Playroom. So that said, my name is Cathy Malejane, and I normally have Ross, Wolf-like Ross, in studio with me, alongside me. That is definitely my partner in all things good and amazing. And of course, to the crew that really make sure they bring out the best in us, we really appreciate you, your thoughts and your insights as well. And of course, capturing us and helping bring our conversations to our viewers, our listeners. That's it. Catch us next week on the Purple Playroom right here on Gabs FM on Tuesday from 10 to 12 midnight. That's where you will be able to find us. Otherwise, let me leave you with Buna giving us the song. It's called Iona.
Amo beats.
That's just a disguise like you. Ghost in my make you stay. But I guess that's just a disguise like you.